What's good now? It's the White Shadow Norway, coming at you straight out my home in Norway, and today we're going to do a video. We are going to do a movie collector video today. As most of y'all probably know, I'm a big fan of horror movies. So what you're seeing here is actually the almost the complete White Shadow movie collection on Blu-ray and DVD. I'm not a hoarder. Hoarders buy everything and I don't. And I'm not a completist, because completists, they would buy like everything from one DVD company or something like that. I don't. I'm more of a collector type. What I buy is movies that I think are great and that have rewatchability to me. So I don't have a huge collection because of it, but it's solid. So here we go. I'm going to go through it and show every movie in the collection. We're going to start with the horror movies today, and we are going to start with the Blu-rays on the top shelf here. So let me take a seat, get comfortable, and let's go. First one up in here, oops, make sure the rest don't fall, is the Alien Anthology. That's got, of course, Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien 4, Alien Resurrection in it. Which one is the best? Well, to me it's between the first and the second. I think Aliens, the second one, is the best, but Alien is also really dope. It's really different, of course, a lot more horror, while the second one is more of a action movie, really. But they're both great, and this is a great anthology to have in the Blu-ray collection that I've watched many times. So talking about repeated viewings, this one is definitely up there on that. We are going to get that back in there. Make sure the movies don't fall. There we go. So the next one is more of a thriller, I would say American Giallo type movie. It's of course Basic Instinct, one of my favorite thrillers from the 90s. This one with Sharon Stone and Michael Douglas, and it's it's a really well-known movie and really awesome. Bring you down to Italy. I'm a big fan of Italian horror and giallo, so this is one of the classics by Lucio Fulci, The Beyond. Alrighty, that's the Arrow Video release, and this one is Arrow Video 2. Mario Bava, also from Italy, of course. Legendary director, and it's Blood and Black Lace, which is my favorite movie by Mario Bava. Another Arrow, and more of a thriller slash horror, directed by Brian De Palma, starring John Travolta. This is Blowout. He plays like a sound man who witnesses a murder and everything. Actually has some reel-to-reel scratch in this and everything too. It's a dope movie, and one of my all-time favorite thrillers as well. Keep it with Brian De Palma as the director. Another great thriller by him called Body Double. If you haven't seen this, it's not as well known as his most famous movies, but if you haven't seen this, just go get it. It's real dope. Back again to Italy, we got some cannibal flicks. I'll pull it out here and see it a little better. The Grindhouse edition of Make Them Die Slowly, or Cannibal Ferox, directed by Umberto Lenzi. Warning: due to its shocking and violent subject matter, no one under 17 should view this film. Ya heard me? So, you know, it's one of them really nasty movies. Also was video nasty, really banned all over the place back in the days. I think it was like banned in 32 countries. And my favorite cannibal movie, I guess most people's favorite cannibal movie from back in the 80s, another big video nasty. This one started off the video nasty hysteria in UK, was one of the titles anyway. And it's the most controversial movie ever made, or so they say. Maybe not by today's standards, but back then, and it still holds up. It's still pretty hard to sit through this one, especially on a big screen. Warning: due to its shocking and violent subject matter, no one under 17 should view this film either, like Cannibal Ferox. And yeah, as you can see, this is pretty damn gory. Cannibal Holocaust, classic Ruggero Deodato Italian cannibal film. What can I say, man? One of the best horror movies of all time. Another Brian De Palma flick. Goes without saying that I'm a big Brian De Palma fan, I guess. This one also got John Travolta in it and Sissy Spacek in the lead role as Carrie, Stephen King adaptation classic horror movie. Once again, going back to Italy and Lucio Fulci with The City of the Living Dead. It's one of his famous zombie movies on Arrow Video. This one also stars Johnny Morgan, or Giovanni Lombardo Radice. Big shout to him. He's a good guy and a great Italian horror movie exploitation actor as well. Moving on to more recent times, I'm not too fond of newer horror movies, but there are some exceptions, this being one. Cloverfield, it's like in a way kind of a mix between a regular movie and a found footage one. It's of course a monster type movie and one of the best in recent times. And the follow-up to it, 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is also great, but really, really different. I'm not going to go into the plots too much there, or it will take hours, but it's definitely one to watch. And talking about recent horror movies, this is my favorite of them all, the ghost movie The Conjuring. Just really, really great stuff, and y'all probably seen this, one of the more famous recent horror movies, that one. And the follow-up, not quite as good, but also great, The Conjuring 2. Then we moving on, well, we stay in recent times, we go back a few years. With Keanu Reeves in Constantine. It's, I don't know, yeah, I guess you could call it, it's horror related. Anyway, horror related enough to be up in here. It's also like a fantasy cartoon type movie. And a great one at that. Take you back to the 80s, golden era of horror, music and everything else, with my favorite Anthology movie directed by George A. Romero. Stephen King involved heavy in this one as well. You can see the Shining poster on the wall there, and the several other classics, Carrie that I showed you, and Dawn of the Dead as well. Creepshow, 5 segments of jolting horror put together in the greatest anthology ever made, back to 82, if I'm not mistaken with that one of my favorites. Another of my favorite directors is David Cronenberg, and this is like a compilation of some of his movies. You got the Stephen King adaptation Dead Zone up in here. That's my favorite on this one, and you got his older classics Rabbit and Shivers that are also good. So great value for money, 3 Cronenberg flicks on that one. Moving on to a documentary about the Friday the 13th series called Crystal Lake Memories. This is like a 10-hour documentary or something like that, with everything behind the scenes and lots of interviews and good stuff on the Friday the 13th series. Probably one of the greatest documentary type film about horror films ever made, that one. You also got the Never Sleep Again on the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I don't have that one. Well, I have it downloaded, and it's also a great one. I hope and I wish they'll do one for Halloween as well. Yep, moving on to the Deep Blue Sea right here with the classic 1977 movie The Deep. Not so much of a horror, it's more of a thriller with some horror elements in it, and it's this brings back great childhood memories to me. It's also got a great soundtrack that I copped way back in the days when I was a kid. Speaking of back in the days, we are going to keep it back there, going to the Hammer Dracula movies with Christopher Lee. This is the first one, called just Dracula. Then I have Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Then I have Dracula Prince of Darkness. And that's what I have now. I think Scars of Dracula is also came out on Blu-ray now, so I'm going to pick that one up later. And what is probably my favorite Dracula movie, not counting Nosferatu, the original, is Bram Stoker's Dracula. I rewatched this recently, and I thought it was good before, but it blew me away this time, especially seeing it with a projector and big picture and everything. This is an incredible movie, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it really follows the book like 100%, if not more. Back to Brian De Palma we go, another great thriller classic by him, and sort of a giallo-ish one. It's Dressed to Kill. Really great one as well. Moving on to one of my absolute favorites of all time. Back to 1973 we go, with Linda Blair and The Exorcist. This has the theatrical version and the version you've never seen with the spider walk and everything. As great as the spider walk is, I think actually the movie makes more sense without it. So, well, it's hard to pick a favorite of the director's cut and the theatrical version, I guess. But yeah, love them both. The Exorcist, great classic. Moving on to horror related, maybe not strictly horror again. A little thriller, a lot of conspiracy theories surrounding this one. It's Stanley Kubrick's final film, Eyes Wide Shut. Of course, you know, some of the conspiracy theories say that he got killed because of this movie, because the powers that be didn't want it to come out. But the cat's out the bag, and then some of my friends, they're making like a documentary with this now, so finally we might get to see some of the 45-minute footage that didn't make it to the final movie, so that's something to look forward to. An all-time favorite of mine as well there, Eyes Wide Shut by the great Stanley Kubrick, R.I.P. Bringing it back to recent times again with one of the best horror franchises, in my opinion, of recent times, like after 2000. It's a Final Destination series, and this one got 1, 2, 3, and 4 on it. Plus, I got number 5 by itself. I like them all, man. I think they're all really fun. Another Cronenberg movie coming up. We have got his remake of The Fly, Brundlefly in the house. If you haven't seen that, just go grab it right away. Another childhood favorite of mine, Fright Night. I guess it's got a lot of comedic elements to it and stuff too, but it's a great horror movie, a little vampire type movie there, and the cover is just so damn great, man. Being a horror fan back in the 80s, there's no way you could leave this on the shelf. When you saw this, you had to rent it like right away. So now I got it to own, and good is that, on Blu-ray, baby, Fright Night. Moving on to another underground classic called From Beyond, another one you should pick up by the makers of Reanimator, this one, and almost as good, very different, but yeah, a great one. Then back to De Palma again with The Fury, another great thriller slash horror movie by him. Here's another of my favorite horror movies of all time, probably one of the all-time best to most people actually, and set up the slasher craze in the late 70s, early 80s. John Carpenter's classic Halloween, of course. It's my favorite movie of all time is always between this and The Exorcist, and another that I'm going to show a little later. So, but this one might have the most rewatchability out of those three. Great movie anyway, Halloween. Take you back to Italy again, another Fulci movie. Another one in this zombie movie series called The House by the Cemetery, and the Arrow Video Edition Blu-ray on that. Then I got the media book of another one of my big favorites, Jaws, of course, Steven Spielberg's classic Jaws. Some of y'all might not know that this movie almost wasn't made at all because they had such problems filming at sea. It's really rough filming actually at sea, and the mechanical shark, it didn't work when it was supposed to. So hence the documentary that's on this, the shark is still working or not working or something like that. A great documentary as well. But thank God they made it, and turned out one of the biggest classics of all time, and probably the first huge summer blockbuster for Steven Spielberg and company with Jaws. We used to play at sea, and when we were kids, and used to play the shark and everything like that in the summer. It's real fun. So they learned from their mistakes in Jaws 2, not filming at sea but taking it indoors in a swimming pool this time, and it's a great sequel. I think it's not as good as the original, obviously, but it's really, really great, and it's the only sequel I like and the only one I own on Blu-ray or DVD. Jaws 3 is okay, it's pretty bad actually, and Jaws 4 is atrocious. It's just really, really bad. But Jaws 2, a solid one. Moving on, keep it with some monsters up in here. Or was he really a monster? You decide. King Kong, the Peter Jackson extended version. The best King Kong adaptation in my opinion, though the 1933 original is really great and the 76 remake is fun as well. This has to be my favorite. It's just really well done, and yeah, it kicks ass, man. It's King Kong. And this year or last year there was like a Kong follow-up. It's not really a follow-up, but it's another really fun one called Kong Skull Island that you should check out if you like King Kong. It's a dope fun ride, man. Take you back to the early days of horror with this Monsters, Universal Monsters collection. What you got on here, you got all the classic monsters like Bela Lugosi's Dracula, you got Frankenstein, you got the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the Mummy and the Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein, and so on. Really great compilation of old school classic Universal horror, this one. You should definitely not sleep on the originals that set it off in this beautiful genre of ours. Moving back to recent times, another thriller slash horror from master director Roman Polanski. It's my favorite Polanski movie, and also one of my favorites of all time, starring Johnny Depp. He's like a book detective hunting for occult books, and gets involved with the occult because of it. If you play with fire, you will get burned, and that's what this movie is about, among other things. The Ninth Gate. Beautiful, great horror thriller, that one. Yep, keep it in recent times. We got another ghostly recent movie called Oculus, also one of my very favorites of recent times. Probably my favorite after The Conjuring, actually. And if you haven't seen this or you haven't picked it up, you like ghost movies and stuff like that, supernatural stuff, go grab it. Return to the classics, 1976 if I'm not mistaken. It's The Omen, the original The Omen, another great one about the son of Satan, of course. I really dislike this cover. I wish they had used like the old school original cover artwork, but the movie is just as great, of course, and shined up well for Blu-ray as well. The Omen, definitely a classic you gotta own in a horror collection, and a respectable horror collection. Another great ghost movie that some people got mixed feelings about, but I love it. It's also one of the best recent horror movies, I think. Great ghost movie starring Nicole Kidman called The Others. If you like The Innocents, I would say you would definitely like this one, kind of an updated The Innocents version of The Innocents, but then again, not quite either. Ouija, I didn't like the first one, but this is the follow-up, Origin of Evil. Really great supernatural horror movie, that one actually. One of the better recent ones as well. Rewind selected, bringing it back in time there all the way to 1960. Of course, the great maestro Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Norman Bates going at it. I don't need to talk about this. It's one of the all-time best, and just a great horror movie, that one. Oh yes. Back to Cronenberg. We got a bit of a Criterion one here. I love Criterion. Wish I had more of those actually. They just put out so many great movies of all genres. Sorry about that. This is one of Cronenberg's best and his most well known, perhaps, called Scanners. You know, you got the exploding heads and everything, man. 80s classic stuff right there. And you also get to see a record store from back then, late 70s, that a car runs into, or so, I don't remember exactly, but that's pretty cool to see. You can see like old posters for old records and stuff on the walls, like Donna Summer and stuff like that. Moving on to recent times, this revived horror in the 90s, of course. It's the original Scream by Wes Craven. My dude over there going at it for the first time in the movie. Oh yes, sir. And yeah, that movie there defines the 90s for me, man. That's like the ultimate 90s movie right there. The only thing I can think that that's up there with it, as far as, you know, people really getting into it heavy and stuff like that and reciting and stuff, is like some of the like hood action movies that came out back then, like Menace to Society or the comedy Don't Be a Menace. But as far as horror went, Scream was it of the 90s, man. Put it back on the map, and put slashers back on the map as well. I only have Scream and Scream 4 on Blu-ray because I have a collection of Scream, Scream 2 and Scream 3 on DVD. So, but Scream 4, they say that that's going to be the last Scream ever. we shall see about that now, shall we not? And you know, yeah, we should see about that. But so far, the studio has decided not to do any more Scream movies. So it's kind of sad, man, because Scream 4, it was a really great follow-up. The best one, I think, besides the first Scream. The third one of my all-time favorites that I talked about with the Halloween and the Exorcist is Stanley Kubrick's Stephen King adaptation that Stephen King hated and everybody else loved, called The Shining, with Jack Nicholson going bananas in fine form there on that one. Not much to be said, it's just a big classic. But unless, I mean, you should get the US version if you have a region-free player, because the US version is a lot longer than the European version. That most of us is the only one we've seen out here, unless we bought it on US import. I think it's about over 20 minutes longer, perhaps even 30. So you should definitely get that that version there, as it has some great extra scenes in it. Some scary ones too at the hotel. I'm not gonna spoil it for you. Anyway, keep you back in the 80s there with a personal favorite of mine from back in the days called The Slayer. It's I wouldn't say a slasher. Well, kind of, but more like a little supernatural bit going on there as well. Really good one anyway from the 80s, The Slayer. One of the video nasties as well, I think. Oh, here's another Christopher Lee Hammer Dracula. Probably should have put that one with the others over there, but yeah, it's because it starts with a T and not a D, and that's Taste the Blood of Dracula. Another old-time favorite of mine coming up right here. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the infamous one during the video nastiest era, though there isn't much violence in it really. It's the title alone, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It had to be bad, so everybody thought it was really, really bad. Even if it wasn't that bad really, coming, you know, when we talk about violent scenes and everything. But a great classic there, directed by Tobe Hooper, who unfortunately passed away this year, so rest in peace, R.I.P. to Tobe Hooper. This movie was financed by the mob, by the way. The mob produced this. Bet y'all didn't know. And if y'all didn't know, now you know. Keep it in the 80s, 1982. My favorite sci-fi horror, probably. Well, actually, I'll probably rate Alien higher than this, but it's John Carpenter's great The Thing. Back to Cronenberg again, one of his all-time best also, Videodrome. Another good one. He kind of saw the future. He was ahead of his time with that one. It can be linked to like virtual reality and the internet and stuff nowadays, which makes it extra interesting now. A great horror remake and one of the best recent horrors, The Woman in Black. The original here is a really creepy late 80s British TV movie that they had in their Horror Before Christmas or something like that, Horror Stories for Christmas, and it was just super creepy. This one does the job as well by, you know, updating it, and the jump scares bang a lot more. I would say the original is the better movie, but it's really good. It's really fun. One of the absolute best recent horror and ghost movies. The Woman in Black as well. Even if it stars Harry Potter in it, you know, it's all good though. He does a fine job anyway. Back to Fulci for the last horror Blu-ray and the last one in this video. I will do the DVDs later, or the videos will become damn long. So that's Lucio Fulci's Zombie or Zombie Flesh Eaters, classic one. You got the zombie fighting the shark among other things there, and this is actually the first Italian horror movie I ever saw. So that's it. That is the entire White Shadow Norway Blu-ray horror movie collection. I'm still collecting, so you know I'm gonna get more movies. But like I said, I'm not really a completist or a hoarder, so I just need my favorites, and that's about it. So until next time, y'all, have a good one. Peace.